Hi, it's Ron from the radiologictechnologist.com. I got a question through Reddit that's fairly lengthy that I thought it'd be easier if I answer it on video and then upload it to the YouTube channel. I'm sure this gentleman's not the only person with this question, so maybe this will help some other people as well. He writes, not sure if you'd remember, but about a year ago, we had messaged a few times about my decision process of going back to school to become an x-ray technologist. I'm nearly done with my prerequisites, which is nice, but I'm starting to worry about something a bit down the road: night shifts. I've never worked a night shift. I don't know if that is a lifestyle I want, and I worry about the effect it will have on my work-life balance as I'm planning on starting a family soon. I was wondering if you could shed some light on this concern and maybe help ease my fears. If I go on this career path, am I destined to work midnights at one point or another? Let me stop there and start addressing some of this. You don't have to work a night shift. It is from an administrative perspective, it is the hardest shift to fill. But what I've noticed is when you do find people to fill them, they don't tend to go anywhere. There's a breed, and I was one of them, of night shift techs that prefer the nights. I don't know if I've talked about it in any of my other videos, but I really enjoyed the night shift. For one, there was no administration bothering you. You could do your stuff at your own pace, and there wasn't this, oh, so and so is coming. Let's look busy, or whatever. It's a little bit slower pace. You tend to, well, I was going to say you tend to interact with other departments more because you kind of all come together to get things done, but that happens on day shift too. Um, One of the things I really liked about night shift was during the slow time, I was able to get some homework done. But that's going to depend on where you work. If you're at a large facility and there's still lots of people walking around, that won't be as easy. I was in a rural location. I was the only one in the imaging department, and I was able to do whatever I wanted to do in between patients. There were nights when I'd only have one or two patients for an entire 12-hour shift from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So, and maybe that's one of the reasons I enjoyed it. At a bigger facility where there might be two or three of you on at night and you've got to work together, if you're stuck with somebody you don't like working with, that could be problematic. Um, so, do you have to work night shift? No. Is there a chance that you have to start out on the night shift? Maybe. It depends on where you're at. That's a question you should ask in your interview process. Um, my favorite question in the interview process is, do you cross train here? Because if they don't cross train and they only hire from the outside, that's a dead end job, in my opinion. Unless you don't want to advance, which is perfectly fine, but you would find that out in that interview question. But some facilities might have you start on the night shift or a less desirable shift, which in my experience has been like a 2 to 10 or 2 to midnight, or something of that derivative, kind of the swing shift we called it, that fills in between days and nights. That may be something that they put you in until a full-time position opens up. That is very common. That scenario where in order for you to get a foot in the door, you have to be a PRN or part-time tech first and work whatever's open until something full-time does open. That is a very common scenario, and you would again find that out in your interview, or even before the interview when you're watching the job postings. If you don't see a lot of full-time positions open, but you see a lot of PRN or part-time, that tells you that may be how that facility moves techs around. As full-time techs retire, quit, get fired, whatever, whoever's been working there part-time usually has first pick of moving up into that full-time slot, and then they bring in a new person part-time, etc. If I wanted to avoid that, could I just pursue a career in the clinical setting? Absolutely. Clinics don't work nights. Clinics don't take call. And that's usually another benefit of a night shift too, is you don't take call. So let me cover night shift with you for just a sec. Because in here it's clear you think it will disrupt your family life. So the only thing it disrupted for me personally was my shift was 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., which meant I could miss dinner if we had it too late, and I would miss the tucking the kids into bed part. But we would have dinner around 5:30, and then I would go to work, and so I still missed putting the kids to bed. But when I would get off at 7 in the morning, I could still be home in enough time to take the kids to school and spend time with them on the way to school. Then I would come home and go to bed and sleep till 2 o'clock, whatever. And then the kids would come home. I'm up and I'm interacting with them until it's time to go to work again. So I slept when the kids were at school. It didn't really affect too much of the family life. Now, when I was going to school and working, that's another story. But it doesn't disrupt a whole lot. Now, if you start to get into the weekends, that could be problematic. I had some shifts for a while that were Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that tends to eat into your weekend activities. So that is a valid point. If you're working Friday night and don't get off work till 7 in the morning on Saturday, you're going to have a hard time going out and enjoying the day on Saturday. Of course, you could still pull that off. There's still plenty of people that will just stay up, and then if they don't work the next night, then they go back to bed. I've seen that where people rotate. If they work, I don't know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, and they get home Thursday morning, they'll just stay up all Thursday day and then go to bed Thursday night with their family and sleep the nights until it's time to go back to their night shift, and then they're back to sleeping during the day. I had a hard time flip-flopping like that. And I'll admit, I think my sleep schedule's still a little bit wacky from 10 years of night shift. So that is real. And there are studies that show you carve off a little bit of your overall life expectancy working the night shift. I can't remember the details. You can Google that. But clinic setting does not work evenings, does not take call at night, does not work weekends, so you could certainly do that. I don't know exactly where else to go with these questions, as this seems like a pretty big deal in making the decision. So I wouldn't let it stop you, and I wouldn't worry too much about it. It kind of depends on where you're at, location-wise. Are you in a big city? Are you going to be working at large facilities, 200-plus bed hospitals? Or are you going to be working rural and smaller hospitals? And there's not always a night shift at the smaller hospitals. If you're at a 20-bed critical access hospital, they may have a swing shift that goes till 1 in the morning, and then they just take call till 7 a.m. There may not be a night shift at all. So don't be afraid to ask. Ask in your interview what the shifts are like, and you should have a pretty good idea of what's open going into the interview. If not, by the end of the interview, that's one of the questions you need to be asking is what shifts are open, what am I eligible for, will I have an opportunity after a while to do some cross-training. You never want to give the appearance that you're expecting cross-training immediately. Expect to do 1 to 2 years in the saddle in x-ray before you start getting cross-trained. But overall, I really enjoyed night shift. If it's not your cup of tea, that's fine. There's plenty of day shifts and swing shifts. There's also shifts that are kind of few and far between, but they're called 7 on, 7 off, where you can work 7 days in a row and then have 7 off. There's lots of opportunity in radiography and in the radiology department in general. So anyway, I hope this helps. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comment section below, and thanks for asking.